All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting of the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance. We have two meetings a month. General meeting is the first Monday of the month, and the third Monday of the month, which is today, is our member showcase. Again, we will start with our mission of the Alliance, and DAIAA's mission is to foster the development and proliferation of decentralized AI agents through education, activism, research, and events. So this is an event and a showcase, and we've got three great presenters today, I think. So looking forward to hearing from OpenMatter Network and Renee. Welcome. Reality Network. I'm sorry, Reality Network and MetaMe. And we're going to start with some stats, membership stats, membership intros. If this is your first DAIA meeting, then please, take 30 seconds and intro yourself. Or if you've been to other meetings but haven't yet introed yourself, please take the opportunity. And then if any of the members have updates that they'd like to share, and Robin, Alan, if you could, sounds like somebody's not on mute. So if you could put them on mute, that'd be great. Um, and then if any of the members have updates, that would be great to share as well. We're a community. We'll then just spend a couple minutes on updates about DAIA, and then we'll move on to the agent showcase. Definitely by 15 minutes after, we'll start the showcase. And if there's time at the end, we'll then have an open discussion. And so real quick, DAIA statistics, we're now 219 members. We said the first 200 are founding members. That's up seven in the last month. And now if there are any new members here, folks who haven't introduced themselves before, this is a great time to do it. Just You can just start talking, raise your hand. Let's see, Catherine.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
This is my first time here. Can you
Well,
see
hold
me?
on a
I'm
minute.
seeing that
Cannot
I'm in
see
and
you.
out. Okay, Kat.
I can see a tiny little sliver of light on the right-hand side.
So weird. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. Oh,
Oh, there it is. Now we
there.
see you. Hey, Kat.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm out here in the Vegas area, currently helping co-host the Crypto Mondays. Working on some projects in the AI sector, film, music, and just integrating blockchain, kind of in different institutional ways as well. So a little bit of everything, just kind of trying to now automate my systems and get my agentic agents working for me properly. So happy to be here with all of you, and I'm looking forward to learning.
Yeah, great to have you here, Kat. And you guys are killing it at Crypto Mondays Vegas. It's the only chapter with a residency at the Circa Hotel, which is like this incredibly nice hotel in downtown Vegas. Got the biggest sports book I think in the world, right? It's like
I
crazy
did
down there.
not know that, but it has
Yeah.
been getting so busy and it's just a great turnout. And I mean, even the community members are like just telling me so many great reviews, and I'm so honored. So thank you again. And yeah,
Yeah.
excited. Any of you in Vegas, please come out and say hi to us. And I would love to start live streaming it too, Lou. We got to talk about this another
Okay,
time.
most definitely. That looking forward to talking about that.
All right. Thank
Um,
you.
and Chris?
Okay, yeah, great. Nice to be here. This intro to you came from Adam Miller, so shout out to you, Adam. I'm part of OpenMatter Network, and we're building in two main verticals, private AI and agentic compliance, which Renee is going to tell you all about in our meeting or in her showcase shortly. I'm based in the UK. I live near Cambridge. Lou's trying to convince me to open up a Crypto Mondays in Cambridge. So if you live in the UK and you want to come, give me a shout out and maybe we can make that work.
Yeah, you should check it out if you haven't been to Cambridge. It's spectacularly beautiful. Good to have you, Chris. Anybody else like to introduce themselves?
Got a
Matt?
couple more hands up.
Yep, I see Matt's hand.
Hi, I'm Matt, Director of Marketing for OpenMatter. I work with Chris and Renee, and I'm calling from Space Coast of Florida, if you're familiar with that area. It's kind of where we shoot off rockets and stuff. So nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, good to have you. Ricardo?
Yeah, Ricardo Spagni. I am from Kala, kala.to. and we're building agentic payment standards and protocols.
Terrific. Nice to have you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Brian. I am with Wyatt and Charles. We're from Reality Network. We're building essentially the next iteration of the open and permissionless internet, new kind of blockchain network that runs in a totally decentralized and permissionless way.
Cool. Welcome. And see if they're Charles.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charles Gisela. I'm Chief of Staff at Reality Network. Ryan just introduced a little bit about what we do. So excited to present later.
All right. It's gonna come fast. And Wyatt?
Hi, I'm Wyatt. You're going to hear from me a little bit later, but I'm the CEO here of Reality, and yeah, we're making a new type of blockchain where you can yeah, host any kind of application that you want on consumer devices, and we're going to tell you more about it today.
All right. Cool. A lot of newcomers. It's great. Anybody else? Did we miss anybody? Okay. Terrific. And then I don't know if any of the members have any announcements that they'd like to share about what they're doing. Okay. In that case, we'll go quickly to the DAIAA updates. The next general meeting is July 13th. The general meeting is generally the first Monday of the month, but the first Monday of the month is the July 4th holiday here in the United States, which we get the holiday on July 6th. So we're going to push that a week to the 13th. The showcase is still staying on the third Monday of July. And excited to announce that we also have a new subgroup starting out, and that's the Agentic Privacy and Security subgroup. And so, Chris, if you want to come back and just real quick and introduce the group, and I don't know if you've picked a first date to have a meeting yet, but why don't you tell the folks about it?
Yeah, thanks, Lou. So this is something that saw in the email. If we wanted to host a subgroup, we could, and we're actually hosting another subgroup in Hashgraph Online, which I know some of you in this meeting are also a part of, and you'll be joining us there. So I thought it might be a good idea to share what we're building there, along with what other people are sharing in the privacy and security, in the realm of privacy and security for agents, and just do a sort of bi-weekly sync, just so we can keep everything pushing forward in the same direction. We don't have a date set yet, but I imagine it will be someday next week. I'll try and sync up with some of the other work groups so we don't clash on timings. And there's no set agenda. We're just going to sort of share information, and see what comes up. I'm sure we'll form some sort of solidified topics as we go along, but there's nothing major yet. If you want to add to this, we want to have you there, so looking forward to kicking it off soon.
Okay, terrific. And we're here to help you get the word out. That's obviously kind of a broad swath, both privacy and security in one subgroup. Maybe over time it'll break up, but to start, it's probably good to have a broad subgroup to, can get the most
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. We can branch out from there, start
Yeah.
with privacy and security, and then see how they divide over time.
Exactly. Okay. And then with that, what are we? Yeah, 12 minutes after the hour. We've got three presenters today. So the idea is they'll each present 7-8 minutes, which leaves 7-8 minutes of Q&A from the audience. And so we've got enough time for each of our presenters in between presenting and Q&A to have about 15 minutes. And we'll start with OpenMatter, then Reality and the network, and then MetaMe. And so, Renee, you're going to start off?
Awesome. Thanks, Lou. If you could, I
Yeah.
think I can share screen.
Yeah, you should be able to share screen.
Awesome. Let me know when it's coming through.
There it is, the infrastructure layer for secure AI collaboration.
Great. So I'm going to run you through like a high level presentation on just, who we are, what our thesis is, and kind of what we see the problem space for secure AI agents is. and then I'll jump into a demo of our platform that is live on testnet since November of 2025. And then, yeah, we'll have plenty of time for questions. But OpenMatter at the base of
Is that full screen?
Should be. Let's see here.
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Cool. Yeah, so OpenMatter is basically a infrastructure layer for secure AI collaboration. We invented what we call mass compute. And really, the opportunity here is scaling autonomy at machine speed. So OpenMatter provides sort of an unlock for agents operating in high risk, high stakes environments. Many of our partners are working with sensitive workforce HR data or healthcare data or financial data. And we developed the technology that allows organizations to actually compute on data without sharing it. And we do this using a couple different privacy preserving techniques like multi-party computation and zero knowledge proofs. And really, what we've identified as a really big opportunity is sort of what we call the operational trilemma for AI agents. And the idea is that you can only ever have two of these choices, and at the sacrifice of the third. So you can, obviously you want to have AI autonomy, and the more data you provide agents, the more useful they are, but at the sacrifice of data protection. And then if you want to coordinate across organizations, you can do so and have secure data, but at the risk of sacrificing autonomy. And really the goal here is that OpenMatter enables you to do all three of these things really well. And we've kind of observed this in the last couple of years, but the market for secure AI agent infrastructure isn't really evolving. A lot of people are still using trusted execution environments, cloud services. They're not building decentralized. So we really think that the market for AI agents isn't going to change, so the infrastructure has to. And we built our platform around 3 operating layers, all post-quantum secure, designed for malicious adversaries, which basically means our system is designed to be exploited, and we are resistant against malicious actors. So the first thing we built is what we call our mass compute stack, which is the network and how jobs get processed. Then the other thing we built, which I'm really excited about, is what we call Quantum Guard, which is a zero knowledge firewall for your agent. This actually allows us to enforce at the operating system level different compliance checks, and then we provide a zero knowledge audit trail. And you can actually block agent actions from occurring at the operating system level. And then Data Visor, which is kind of our front end application that allows you to configure all of these things, which is what I'm going to give a demo of in a moment. But this idea of encrypted in, verifiable out, some of you may be familiar with this idea of verifiable compute. A lot of the solutions in the market right now are leveraging trusted hardware. We believe that that is not the ideal solution for the agentic economy for a number of reasons. Trust does not scale with AI the way it used to. So we've actually developed all of our proof of compute algorithms using cryptography and post-quantum cryptography at that. So, and the idea is that anybody can get a verifiable output that an auditor or regulator or third party can verify. So this idea of replacing trust with logic is really what it comes down to. You look at traditional cloud platforms, who you have to trust is the provider. And then if you look at hardware enclaves, you have to trust the manufacturer. And then a lot of semantic guardrails is these AI agents securing AI agents, but who's securing the security agents, right? And that's kind of this need that OpenMatter fills. So with that said, we're working across a number of industries right now. We have a number of design partners in the healthcare space working with hospitals in Europe, as well as a hedge fund that we're doing financial privacy preserving analysis with, as well as some HR enterprise research firms that are doing secure data collaboration, which basically is our platform way of saying, hey, analyze this data without decrypting it. So we built this network as a DPIN project. It's actually a decentralized private validator network. It's not permissionless. Most of our customers and partners are B2B, and they actually are very hesitant to use permissionless networks because they don't trust who is running the validators and who sees the data. So we have a private validator network where our partners run validators for us. And then everything is kept confidential and encrypted on chain. And with that, I'm going to jump into a demo of the platform. Just a second to jump over. Let me know when you can see the screen switch.
Yeah, we're now at your dashboard.
Yep, perfect. So this is what we call Data Visor. This is basically the command center for secure agentic deployments. We have a number of features. The first is our deployment page. We have sort of a number of virtual machine containerized templates that are available. So all of these are one-click deployments on OpenMatter. I've got a Hermes agent right now running connected to our Slack, and it is all running on OpenMatter. So just to give you an idea of how this works, you get SKUs and you can select from SKUs your range. All of the environment variables are encrypted with a post-quantum threshold decryption scheme. So your private key is never stored in plain text, and it's actually split up into multiple pieces and stored encrypted across nodes that are distributed across the world. And then we also enable a couple of cool features like automatic HTTPS and domain. So if you want to create a domain name for this, you can. And then we also have, you can deploy your own resources on the network. So if you want to run this on premise, but still have the network validation and verifiability, you can do that, and you can actually whitelist resources that you control, and it'll get deployed automatically to those resources. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this hello world container. We have 4-second block times. So most transactions take anywhere from 4, sometimes up to 6 or 10 seconds to process. And then you'll see that it happens pretty quick. Now that we've got this virtual machine running with this hello world container, and if we go to this address, you can actually see this website is hosted here. And we have sort of a matchmaking service in the background that makes that possible. So the second thing I want to show you is our secure data collaboration. And I'm not going to walk you through the full flow because I don't have everything ready. But basically what this is probably the most exciting thing we're working on. And this lets multiple people analyze data together using machine learning and MPC. And that data can be jointly analyzed so that agents can basically collaborate on sensitive data sets without having access to the raw information. We also have a number of storage integrations. So like if you want to have cloud storage integrated into your compute jobs, you could do IPFS as an example. And then we encrypt all the environment variables on chain. The last thing I want to show you, and then we'll jump into questions, is the admin dashboard. So this is actually really useful for organizations that are launching agents. This actually lets you have some governance over what you're doing, so you can have visibility on billing. You can create treasuries, and you can actually configure spending limits for individual people. And then those spending limits get captured, and then if this member deploys an agent, they can actually select from the treasuries they have access to based on the projects they're in. So, kind of full stack governance, visibility, control, and verification layer. Primarily we deploy agents, but we also have, a number of other templates and use cases that people are using us for. And that's it. The platform's live. If anybody wants to play with it, you go to this link. And then I'm happy to send you some testnet credits.
Wow, that would be great. That was super impressive. I have to say you real quick, if anybody has questions, raise a hand. We'll have about 5 minutes. Real quick, who do you compete against first, and how do customers pay for it?
Yeah, so like we actually compete against a lot of legacy Web 2 platforms in the traditional enterprise analytics space. So like somebody that comes to mind is like Vizier or One Model, and these are like traditional legacy Web 2 analytics platforms. And where they struggle to kind of support the agentic economy is like they're not building primitives that are cryptographically verifiable. They're not building things for agents, right? They're still building for humans, and they're building dashboards that are static and not really living up to the expectations of businesses. How people pay for it is in Matter token. It's the native utility token on the network, and we charge per hour. There's also a small nominal network fee that goes to validators at each deployment. And then, VMs on our network range anywhere from like 15 cents an hour up to around 260 an hour for like a beefy machine with GPUs and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. If anybody has questions, feel free to raise a hand. If not, I'll continue on. I had not heard that issue that you brought up, which was about companies feeling uncomfortable with the validators seeing their information. But I got to say, that's certainly logical if validators can see their information. Do you know why that isn't more broadly well known, or kind of how do you see the issue?
Yeah, so the reality is like most crypto companies today are not building B2B businesses, they're building B2C businesses for consumers, right? It's like so much of our audience is retail in crypto. And I think that because of that, we tend to assume that the more decentralized we can make it, the better. Um, our clientele is a bit different in that it's more traditional Web 2 companies, and they really care about security and privacy. And some of the early features we implemented from the beginning that we got feedback on very clearly was, hey, one, we don't want permissionless validators running this network because we want the data private. Two, we want to be able to run the compute nodes on premise. And so those are two features we implemented very early on.
And what's the biggest challenge, to faster growth at this point?
Yeah, I think right now the biggest challenge is just visibility. We don't have like a crazy marketing budget. We didn't raise 50 million or anything like that, so we can't just dump money into ads or conference sponsorships. So I would say just visibility right now, but my hope is that as we continue to expand our market penetration, the product will speak for itself because we've worked very hard on the integrity of it, and we're actively going through audits right now with third parties to get everything validated.
Yeah, and ultimately also, I mean, I assume that you think it's still very, very early days in all this.
It's definitely early days, but I think the best time to be positioned as a company is about 6 to 12 months before your customers need what you're building, right? So I think in 6 to 12 months, the agentic economy is going to be in full force and businesses are going to finally have their roadmap figured out. Most of the conversations I'm having right now with customers is that they don't know what they're going to spend on AI this year. And they're still trying to figure out what their budget is. They're trying to figure out the governance.
If they haven't already shot through it.
If they haven't already shot through it, exactly.
Well, great. Well, thanks a lot. That really was a great presentation. Really learned a lot. So thanks for that and sticking around. And now I turn it over to Wyatt from Reality Network.
Hey, hi
So,
everybody.
hey,
Well, thanks again for having me, for having us. As I
hold on
know,
just a moment. I gotta now focus on you. So,
sure,
okay, go on.
sure. Um, so we know that this group is focused on making decentralized AI agents, real systems that can make decisions and coordinate value, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually exactly what Reality Network was built to support. Um, Today AI agents are being asked to act on sensitive data, move assets, and just have a lot of responsibility. But underneath the hood, most of this is still run on like a centralized cloud with opaque execution. Similar issues even inside of the big cloud providers that OpenMatter mentioned. I think everybody's like painfully aware of. And we are a decentralized compute network. We are our own blockchain, but that's kind of what we're saying now. And basically, anybody can mine our token on phones and laptops, and that essentially unlocks the resources on all of these devices, which people can use, whether it's like companies or developers can use to host their applications inside of our execution framework. And Yeah, we're really excited to share this community, or sorry, to share our stuff with this community. And I'm going to now go through the deck. Okay, share the screen. All right, cool. All right, this is us. This is our logo. Hello. And this is me. So a
Again, can
little
I
bit
say,
about,
can you make it full screen?
oh God, I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So a little bit about me. In short, I'm a programmer, but in more whatever. I'm also an ex-computational physicist. I did some work at NASA, although ultimately I was doing stuff in particle and quantum physics. Um, I founded one company before this. I raised $33 million, launched a blockchain, and that company is now publicly, it's a public company that's traded on NASDAQ, which is really cool. I also used to look for aliens before when everybody thought I was just nuts. And I left academia to work in what would be known as like the AI space, mainly doing some machine learning, but mainly building large-scale data processing frameworks like Spark, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, we also a lot of my former team has joined us here at Reality. Cool. So as everybody knows, compute is really become the bottleneck to, the whole AI world as we know it. I mean, people are even talking about it in the mainstream media. And we our kind of main thesis is that, the solution here isn't really to build data centers, it's to actually build um, infrastructure that unlocks the resources necessary to build these types of applications. And, the vast majority of all really successful technology companies and technology, products were all based around this concept of crowdsourcing, whether it's like Uber or Airbnb or, even the internet itself. And, it seems pretty plain and simple that access to compute, which is kind of like what these, AI agents eat, is it's going to be a crowdsourced solution as well. It's also a major issue to most technology companies. The bottom line for most companies is literally like, underwritten by the reality that you have to pay a cloud computing provider just to even operate your services. The first company I worked at, I was an employee 50, and it shot up over my time there to a multi-billion dollar valuation. And then I joke that I made the most money because I didn't exercise any of my options out of anyone because they did a massive down round because they were started out after making like a new product with like a $600,000 a month AWS bill that quickly went over $1 million, and then it was pretty much over. So for anybody here who started a company, if you're doing anything that's data intensive or resource intensive, like everything literally is just AWS is actually your boss. Um, so yeah, I mean that's the whole shtick here. Like I mean, there was a whole season of Silicon Valley based around this. What if you could just tap the unused compute power in all everybody's phones and like make the world's like largest data center? But the problem here is that there's a massive, there was a massive lack of security. There wasn't really a solution to something called remote code execution, where you can verify code that runs on, people's devices. This is really where the whole zero knowledge proof kind of stuff comes in. We use a quantum resistant type of zero knowledge proof called the ZK Stark. But in addition to that, I mean, you need to have some type of a orchestration mechanism, a la consensus, and consensus, for the most part, has really been bottlenecked by older software architectures that fundamentally will never scale. This is kind of like what happened, in the advent of Web 2.0 and why, Twitter, for one reason, actually created all the large scale data processing frameworks or the beginnings of them, and as well as Google though because vertically integrated architectures just don't scale with the amount of users that you have, and you need to basically parallelize them. So we have the world's, to my knowledge, the world's first like actually decentralized, totally parallelizable consensus. So there's no master nodes, there's no whitelist or anything. We use a new special type of proof of work, and all of it works on consumer hardware, so phones, laptops. And you can download it today. We'd love you to download it. We'd love you to mine some of our testnet token and build some stuff. The way this works is that we have one sort of central portal that we call it, and that is where individuals just can, mine on their personal devices. So you basically just turn the consensus operation on, and voila, you're basically just printing money on a device. So this also works over LTE, so you can mine over cell service. A lot of people around the world that don't have great Wi-Fi are doing that. We have a lot of people in Africa as well. We can chat about that later. But so that's the main kind of place. We have an app store as well where all the different applications built using Reality. You can download them and run them as well. We released that about a month ago, which is cool. We have three on there, three more coming out right now. And Brian here is going to chat about one as well, WhatsApp bot. So also we have an SDK for developers. The way that this works though is that you use our SDK or like our dependency rather than just an ordinary HTTP server inside of like your backend. So the way that this works is that you're the client side, of your app, the thing that your users actually use, they host the backend as well. So your client and your server are all in the same app, and so you don't have to pay, any kind of like, provider, to host your backend, which is really cool. I call it a unified architecture, and we have a lot of people mining. I think we definitely have over 1,400 unique nodes now, since we made this deck. And yeah, there's lots of companies building, three live that you can use right now, a token getting launched, which I think is going to happen in the coming weeks. And all the way from some people I used to work with at NASA as well are creating a decentralized kind of like SETI at home, if anybody knows that. Yeah, we're doing that in a decentralized way so the government can't scrub the aliens from the photos, because that really did happen. And yeah, basically, like, why does this actually matter? So you have a lot of people, parading themselves around saying they've created decentralized compute networks, but nobody's really done that. Akash, Render, whatever. They don't actually prove execution. They just use something that's kind of like um, more so like it's like a liveness check. It's something for understanding the service level agreement of an app sitting on a server somewhere, but there's no real proof that things actually executed, and that's it's kind of a big problem, and that's kind of like why we actually are that thing that they made in Silicon Valley, which is really cool. Um, and yeah, also just worth mentioning a couple of case studies. So CyberLead and Amply. Since we're running out of time, I'm going to talk about CyberLead. So they're a fully baked end-to-end anti-cheat platform for Major League Gaming. They've created their own kind of alternative MLG like live tournament to the what's it called? PGA. And they they built, trained, and host their entire AI using Reality. And if you guys are gamers, you can download it, and you can actually host and mine their token, and you can participate in their tournaments. And their founders are pro gamers, and we're top 25 in the world in Counter-Strike. And they host Call of Duty and Counter-Strike tournaments every other Saturday during the season. So yeah, just worth mentioning too that like you can train a neural network on a decentralized network now, and that's kind of like one of the big things that we're really proud that we were able to do. So yeah, and there's one other aspect as well that Brian's going to chat about, which is a WhatsApp bot, which is also sort of touches into the stuff that we're doing in Africa. So I'm going to hand that to Brian. And also, if any of you guys are devs or anything, you should download our SDK and give it a shot. There's also a textbook that I wrote around it. There's a domain-specific language that's kind of similar to how most like data processing libraries out there use. It's a wrapper. It's sort of an addition to the Scala programming language. So you can like prove that your stuff's actually going to compile and run before you compile, like at compile time, which is really important. So yeah, Brian, you want to take it away?
Cool. Yeah.
I don't know if we have much time left, but just this is our Discord. Do join us. And the WhatsApp bot uses the WhatsApp web rather than the business API and Cloudflare backend servers. So it can support SMEs in Africa. So we're really focused on Africa. So that's one of the new things coming soon.
Interesting. Cool. Well, yeah, we have about another 5 minutes for questions. I'll start. If anybody else has questions, raise your hand. We'll call you. Start with, I just want to make sure. So you said you had 1,400 nodes, and so that means like 1,400 people are running it on their cell phone or such, or is a node something else?
Yeah, exactly. So we every single node has a private key associated to it, and so we just look at the unique private keys that have mined a block, and so 1,400 devices with their own private key have mined a block.
And
And is that, I'm
this is
sorry.
the mobile app, which runs on Android, any Android phone. And it's a full node. It's a full
Yeah.
node like participating in the network. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Sam?
Yeah, thanks. Great presentation. Do our app developers need to know how to write ZK circuits for this to work?
No, not at all. It's actually super simple. You can take any programming language that you can cross-compile to WebAssembly, and you just put the WebAssembly inside of your project. So pretty much every language that anybody uses, you can compile it to WASM, and then you just yeah, it just picks it up. You basically set flags to the functions you want to make available externally through the API, but it's just an annotation on the function. And then voila, you basically made a smart contract out of any actual Turing complete Web 2.0 code that sits inside of our executor. So it's very cool.
Thanks.
It's a great question.
Huh. When is the season for Call of Duty and Counter-Strike? I didn't know there was a season.
Yeah, no, totally. Me either. I think it's in the summertime, and I'm pretty sure it started recently. So yeah, they play every other Saturday.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So as you've been building this now, what are, this a lot of it's like supposed to be educational. So what have been the biggest lessons you've learned as you built this and now deploying it?
Um, well, in a lot of what has been the biggest lesson I've learned. Well, I've been building like blockchains for like almost 10 years now. I kind of quit my day job when I was 26, and there's really been a lot of evolution around the primitives that we use to build blockchains that have sort of become available recently, specifically around zero knowledge proofs. So if there's anybody trying to build stuff with ZK proofs, I would say like, go for the moon because a lot of the stuff I wanted to build, 5 years ago or so wasn't really possible, and I didn't even know it was possible to build our executor. I basically just made a guess, and we got really lucky using two really popular libraries, ZK-WASM and WASM time. And yeah, that's really cool. Also,
That is very cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I've really believed for a long time that ZK was going to be a foundational layer of everything, and it really seems to be turning out that way.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, in a lot of ways, this is really what a smart contract wanted to be. If you read the Ethereum white paper, um, also too, building your own consensus mechanism is really, really hard. And another thing too, we just got really lucky. I found some. Basically, I just used some stuff from signal processing to try and analyze how distributed systems can try to attack each other and. Yeah, that was a total just threw something at the wall and it worked out. Our consensus model. So I implore you to read my our white paper. I did a lot of empirical tests of various different attacks, and I was able to identify them and sort of reorient itself, I guess you could say. So that's another thing that I'm pretty proud of. But yeah, I think in reality, like right now, if you guys are want to build some type of an application, I also would say, like, just from my own opinion, like some type of like a, I don't know if you call it a substrate model, but like what Polkadot was trying to do, what we were trying to do, like a blockchain in a box framework. You're really not going to be able to, any of these blockchains out there that are essentially kind of like all of the nodes host every single application, like Ethereum, like Solana. You can't really do that much with them. So if you guys are going to try to use a blockchain, you really need to, or want to host something, like make a decentralized application, you really need to use your own blockchain. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to scale. This is just a tried and true problem that has existed for 20 years at this point. So I would say look at those, types of approaches where essentially your app is distributed across your users' devices, and those devices are orchestrated using a consensus mechanism. So I can think of like Polkadot, ours, at least in terms of, more decentralized versions, probably us. Polkadot's proof of stake, and I know that Tendermint is proof of authority though. But that's my opinion. But I also,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
I know what I
appreciated.
like.
Yeah.
So
Well, thanks a lot for the presentation again. I
thank
thought
you.
it's super informative. And now we'll move on to our last showcase. Delhi is going to be talking as company MetaMe, but I think today is going to be talking about the Polity passport. Delhi?
Excellent. Hey, hi everybody. Hi Lou. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, policy passport. So this is literally hot off the press. I've been working on this idea for a while, but I was at a ETH Global hack this weekend and basically completed it. So to a working thing. So everything I'm going to show you today is working code. I would have a QR code and a link, but I don't. I literally finished all of this yesterday, so I'll get that into the Crypto Mondays, or into Crypto Mondays repo, so you can follow from there. In the interest of time, I will dive on. The Policy Passport, the world's first anonymous passport system, and it's a passport system for human and agents. Passports ordinarily, typically, establish your standing through identity. The policy passport essentially establishes standing. It doesn't establish identity, it establishes standing. And that's really important because standing is a combination of things that gives you rights and access to various capabilities without necessarily revealing your identity. So how does that work? So we say the world's first anonymous passport. It basically gives you proof of a few things. Proof of humanity, really important. Are you a human versus are you an agent? But it's not just for humans. It's also for agents. So it gives agents a way to prove uniqueness. Because again, an agent might be a unique agent, or it could be forked across multiple services. And that's important to know, what you're dealing with when you're dealing with an agent. But most importantly is this continuity of standing. Continuity of standing essentially is reputation, but it's a reputation framework that can be portable across systems, across jurisdictions, across nations, across national passport boundaries in that sense, where your standing can be retained. And that's really important for many use cases, for many at-risk people around the world. But very importantly, anonymity does not necessarily mean invisibility. It doesn't mean lack of accountability. It doesn't mean lack of standing. And this is the really important combination factor of being able to bind anonymity and have privacy on one hand, but still have reputation and standing. And this kind of deals with the age-old problem of anonymity and bad actors, the Three Stooges, money laundering, organized crime, pedophilia, that always come up whenever you deal with anonymity. The question is that if you have standing, if you have a means of maintaining standing, then you can maintain a system where you have reputable behavior, accountable behavior without revealing identity and still have privacy at the same time. The way that the system works is that there are basically two classes, if you will, of passports. There's citizens passports, which is for humans, and agent passports, which are for agents. Human passports, citizenship passports, is irrevocable. All you need to essentially have a policy passport as a human is proof of humanity. So there's no other criteria, no age, no identifiability. You can establish one anonymously. You can effectively establish it through proof of humanity and proof of liveness. So there's a currentness Agent passports, on the other hand, are by participation. So agents have rights in the polity, and their rights are based on obligations, declarations, and commitments that they make. But it's bounded. They have what we call bounded delegation, which means they're either bound to a human that's ultimately accountable to them, or bound to the polity. And in order for them to be bounded to the polity, then that the polity basically, they attest to commitment to working within polity rules, which is basically based around receipted behavior. So all activities, all CRUD activities that happen within the polity generate receipts. Those receipts are auditable. Everything is ultimately anchored and etched onto Bitcoin ordinals, interoperable cross chains, but anchored to Bitcoin ordinals as a spine and proof of truth, if you will, truth in an operational sense, not an absolute sense, but in an operational sense of this happened at this time, this was done by this party, and this is the receipt that proves it in an immutable manner. Standing in practice. So yes, and this is the thing, standing is more than just identity. It's a combination of credentials, relationships, reputation, participation, delegations, and verified contributions. The passports themselves are verifiable credentials. The identifying system within the system is based on decentralized identifiers, W3C standards. But the problem with both of these things, and the problem with Web3 as a whole, is that they all work on pseudonymous primitives. And this is a privacy nightmare in that is being edified every day. So anonymity is really what we bring to that capability to actually be able to take it to a point that it actually can be socially standing in a grand scale. Portable under your control. So one of the things we actually did this weekend as well is that we integrated ENS identity. So very importantly, you can have identifiers with human readable identifiers in terms of how you operate with other parties and yourselves through our decentralized validator node network, which is basically using ICP to formulate that. There is a cleansing or washing and anonymization. So even public keys, because public keys are pseudonymous identifiers, therefore high risk identifiability vectors, but we anonymize your public key, your ENS address at the network level, and there's a process through which that is then realigned. And I'm running out of time, so I'm going to move very quickly on this. One passport, many doors. Actually, I'll just go back to this under this sense. World ID gives us a facility not only for proof of humanity, but we've integrated a ZK process, because the one vulnerability that we had in our system is that our basic premise is that public keys, are not secure, are not identity secure. So therefore, they need to be anonymized. And we do that through the DVN system. But at our server level, we're basically able to re-identify parties to their public key, which is the standard, obviously, for most of Web3. And that's unacceptable to us. So what we've now integrated is a zero knowledge layer, whereby at the server, at our domain level, we are unable to match transactions to public keys anymore. We can provide proofs of KYC, AML, any kind of compliance proof that is required, but without revealing identity. So it's now a government grade subpoena. Well, I'm always told not to say subpoena proof, but we cannot be subpoenaed to provide public keys of transactions because our system simply doesn't have them, because it's a zero knowledge layer that obfuscates that. So all transactions across the network are now truly anonymous, and the passport is a proof of anonymity and verifiability across that. In terms of jurisdiction and authority, which I'll close on, so jurisdiction-wise is obviously global, it has to be in that sense. In terms of authority, it's a voluntary system that people opt to participate in. Its authority is based on international law, based on Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which basically has provisions for setting up institutions that protect human rights. And then the UN introduced a charter in 1998 specifically to enable organizations to protect human rights. So its authority is based on that, and its jurisdiction is global. And I will pause there. I think I've got 7.5 minutes. Who would have believed, Lou?
Okay, that was great, Delhi. And also, but and maybe just give a little bit of your background because I think you sold yourself short a little bit when you said, "Oh, I just thought this up over the weekend." I mean, obviously, these are issues that you have been working on for years.
No, absolutely. And it's a really it's an incredible point, actually. I've been working on this for 18 years on the principle of digital rights, digital human rights, and digital sovereignty. We set up the Internet Foundation in 2013, the first organization to call for a universal declaration of digital rights as an extension of human rights. But to Wyatt's point earlier, actually, I completely concur. I think the last 18 months, in terms of what has been possible, I've achieved more in the last 18 months than I have in the last 18 years. And I think it comes down to two things fundamentally. One is the obvious play of generative AI, and that's a story that we all know very well. But the other one that I think, again, to Wyatt's point, that is unsung as much is ZK proofs, particularly cryptography generally, ZK cryptography specifically, has really reached a mature stage where things like this now that weren't as possible, they were more conceptual before they now are really possible. So yeah.
Yeah, most people, the ZK was invented 1980 in at Hebrew University, and this is its first commercial use all these years later. It's going to just have such a massive impact. What's your next step with the Polity?
It's really just onboarding. So we actually have a two-track strategy. So people trying to onboard citizens, but also agents. So we actually have an agent in our ecosystem that's like what's the word I'm looking for? Like an attaché that actually is responsible for agent onboarding. So going in, we've built up a whole
Concierge?
Yeah, well, more. It's not so much. It's more like an ambassador, effectively, to the agent communities to actually go out to agents and because our basic premise, it's better to be accountable, to be free and accountable than permissionless and kind of where you have no rights, effectively no protections or no. And it's quite interesting understanding the things that are important to agents from a rights perspective, in that sense. So one vector is activating agents, getting agents to create their Polity passports, and then, of course, getting humans to get citizenship passports and to sponsor agents to onboard into the Polity.
Yeah, that's great stuff. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to raise a hand. Let's see, Valentine.
Yeah, maybe I have actually missed it, but who is signing verifiable credentials? Like who backs up the identity?
So the Polity as a system. So basically, it goes on a registry. It's an open registry. It's a public registry. We call it the iCube registry. iCubes are these new information sovereignty primitives. So effectively, the protocol basically stands up that the credential is the verified credential. It has been issued according to the Polity's policy, effectively.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And there's a registry. It's all open source, by the way, as well. So everything's open source. There's an open SDK. It needs a little bit of polishing. Like I say, it's completely hot off the press. But our iCube protocol has an open SDK and stack, which this is integrated into. Charles wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, Brian too had a question.
Sorry, I'll leave it to you to coordinate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you had any experience with the guys from Threefold. They're setting up this agentic framework down in Zanzibar in their network state. And it feels like it'd be a really good fit with what you're doing. And also Prospera, the guys down in Prospera, similar thing, another network state, which actually has constitutional protection from the government of Honduras. Could be interesting synergies.
Absolutely, and if you're connected with them, then it's time to go now and time to onboard. So I very much appreciate introductions and talking to you further about how we can integrate your work into this as well.
Absolutely, thank you.
Cool. Charles?
You're on mute, Charles. You're not on mute, but your audio isn't working.
Okay, why don't we come back to Charles, see if we can fix his audio. Bruce?
Yeah, hi. Well, very great presentation. I appreciate it. Back in the day, I knew someone that was sent by the UN to Mumbai and to Geneva to talk about some sort of economic models that were precursors to crypto, as far as like for in India, every purchase you made could be a credit that could be invested, and it had to do with identification. You know, it had huge use cases, and this is very reminiscent. I knew a lot of people that were talking about the value as early day of crypto, the value metric, so you could support, you know, ethical farming or bring resources. So this is, it's been a while, but I'm really interested in what you're doing. I'll be following it. And I work for an organization that Lou knows called the DREC Alliance, or DREC.org is our website now, that the management of keys. And that's what we do is we decentralize the recovery of keys, and we're a non-crypto solution. You could be a Bitcoin maximalist. And I was wondering how you do handle all the security aspects of keys and recovery, and do you use a centralized system? And so from a technical point of view, I'm just curious, but I'm also would like to maybe perhaps partner with you, and we could talk some point down the road about implementing the DREC standards, especially because now you're moving into the agentic portion, which is, of course, as Cloudflare just pointed out, there's been more activity from agentic activity than human for the first time this month.
Right.
So
the trend is very clear. Agents are going to proliferate. We're barely a year and a half, barely a year into it, really. And there are hundreds of thousands, there will be millions of agents shortly. And that's kind of the whole point of the Polity, that there is a framework to have accountability and auditability. On the centralization versus decentralization, so I've got a very big thesis on this whole thing. But the reality is that you do need a hybrid kind of system, but there are certain things that you have to draw a very hard line on in terms of decentralization. And key management is a tricky one, because I think you have to provision for self-custodial key management as a non-compromising initiative. You know, that's essentially, for me, that's a no compromise zone. But by the same token, you do have a usability issue, and you have to understand that not everyone is at the same place in that journey. So our principle is like, it's just like with the Polity passport. You can go on and establish a Polity passport. You do not need an email address. You do not need any recovery means. And when you get your verifiable credential, and when you can assign a persona, and you can manage your keys, you can either with an ENS address or with a Theo ID, and you manage your persona accordingly. And then you can have it fully self-custodial. But if you do not establish an email address in doing that, then we have no way of being able to help you. Now, in the future, we may do some sort of multi-sig, multimodal, key web recovery system, but we're not there at the moment. So, our advice is use an email address. You can use
the magic links or something, or
exactly. You can use the magic links, or you can use a Proton email address, whatever you're comfortable with as a recovery means, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, just to let you know what we're doing, we're just a standards organization, and I was talking to people from Algorand today that are working on hugely on the quantum resistant level, and they use a decentralized rather than Wallet Connect. And so we're just the standards to work with people's applications, but part of ours is the owner of the secret, but also a helper network, where you could be a helper network and supply these services as just one of, as long as you have half your helpers, you can recreate it. So we don't talk about implementation or partnership, or don't monetize everything. That's up to, the platform. So, because it does need to be dealt with, and make it easy. So if you're a grandmother, you could be using it without knowing it, but you should be able to recover. Because the amount of assets that are now digital.
I'm sorry, I know we are on time, and I know.
I'll let you go. But thank you for that time.
Charles did want to kind of get if you've got audio back, I'd love to hear your question, Charles. I guess
the question was just, he put it in the chat and he said, "How can I get my passport?"
Okay, so really, I will very shortly. I want to throw out a URL like the polity.org. I haven't done and registered and all, but I can get a domain name. I mean, I can get a URL out.
We'll get all that information out to everybody as soon as Deli had it available. Thanks, Deli. Thanks everybody for showing up. It's a good call. Nice showcase.
Really
happy Crypto Mondays.
Have a good day, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.